Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast. Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 165. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, and joining me in the studio here as always, except when he's not, BT Calloway.
Hi.
And joining us all the way from beautiful Adelaide in South Australia is Sean from Baby Beard Media.
Hello! How are we?
Doing well in social isolation, man.
Yes, quite dandy.
Yes, and isolated.
Isolated but together.
Yes.
That's it. And we're here together in your ear holes. That's right. We're listening to the Simpsons Index. This is the podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time, but there is a twist. Each episode must come from a different decade. Who are we sponsored by today?
We're sponsored by doing impressions of Super Mario when you're not sure what to do in a podcast. That's right. Just try some wahoo! Yow! Yeah, if you got nothing to say, try some Mamma Mia. Also available on Wario.
All right. Well, yeah, Charles Martinet, please don't sue us.
Let's go.
But anyway, how are you doing down there, Sean? How's things in Adelaide?
Oh, look, I'm missing company, I'm missing touch, I'm missing everything that's good about the world. It's been 4 weeks since I have seen a soul that is not a housemate, which is, 3 of the 4 people in this household are part of Baby Beard. So my circle is limited, and I am requiring all the good Simpsons and bad Simpsons, apparently.
Yes, because when no one else can be there for you in social isolation, you still have the family, the Simpsons, and much like any family, they can disappoint you.
Yeah,
like
whether
in
you want
this
them to or not.
episode, we just watched season...
Season 24, episode 3. Ha ha!
Thank you, because I put my episode notes on the wrong page. So I have to flip back and forth now because I'm a damn fool.
Veteran mistake.
Like Sean said, we just watched season 24, episode 3, Adventures in Baby Getting. First released in November of 2012, it was directed by Rob Oliver, written by Bill Odenkirk. In this episode, Marge's car gets destroyed, so she gets a new car that she hates, but she realizes she hates it because it doesn't have room potentially for another baby, which she then wants. And in the B story, Bart and Milhouse and all that are trying to work out what Lisa's doing after school, and it turns out she's learning cursive. Hey guys, what'd you think?
It's really boring.
I'm very disappointed that this came from Bill Odenkirk, who has given me one of my favorite Futurama episodes of all time, Insane in the Mainframe. So this feels like a fall from grace.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm constantly surprised. And I know this is kind of like the running theme for your whole podcast in terms of everyone that comes on and is reintroduced or just introduced to the new era. But I'm baffled and flabbergasted by how far removed from what I remember the tone of The Simpsons being these new episodes are. Like there are some moments and there are some points where I do genuinely get a chuckle, but there's very little that feels in character. It's very odd because I understand from the perspective of, it's been 30 years. It's hard to keep continuity and consistency between characters, but also it's been 30 years. You should know the continuity and consistencies of your characters.
Yep.
No, it's just everything about this feels like pale imitation. Like there's several plot beats that have been hit on before in previous episodes, and I've got nothing against them running the same ground. It's just do something new and interesting.
Such a weak way though.
Oh, it's so poorly plotted and has a big feeling of we're doing this now. But yeah, let's get into our episode review, starting with you, BT. For better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you?
I'm going to start with the best note I have on this entire thing, which is the very opening where Marge is filling the bird feeder and then adds crusty punch and then tells the hummingbirds to come and get it. And all these fat hummingbirds fly up and then Snowball's just sitting underneath, just licking her lips, waiting for the birds to drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. That was hilarious.
I even like the extra beat of little chunky hummingbird, knocking out Snowball.
Yeah, like that happened. I was like, that was a great joke. I'm looking forward to this episode. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because that was one of the first note I put down, which is even for an animation, it feels like such an egregious close-up on what her bird feeder is. It's like, just see the joke? Do you get the joke? It's a crusty joke. Do you get it? Do you get it? It's like, this is what they do now, isn't it?
It's very heavy-handed, but yeah, I got a good chuckle out of that one.
Yeah, that was easily the best joke of the entire thing. And then we just trip to so many other really bad ones that I will get to eventually. I don't want to step on anyone else's chance to take the spotlight here. But man, some of these aren't even jokes.
No.
They're just existences. They're occurrences. They happen.
The show that transcends jokes.
Yeah, in the wrong way. Ugh.
Way to go, Simpsons. How about you, Sean? What stands out to you for better or worse?
Interestingly, I really usually don't like the kind of the meta jokes that Simpsons, meta things that the Simpsons try to pop our way in the HD era and beyond. But I did really get a giggle out of Bart saying, that he's running out of things to write on the chalkboard and kind of getting notes from Lisa. I'm like, you know what? I'm happy because once again, that serves the continuity and that serves Bart as a character. Like it's a joke that makes sense for the character. And like, I'm fine for that sort of a wink and a nudge at the audience when it's not lingered on too long. That's the thing. Because like what I found with a lot of these, the writing is that they can't help but do the joke and then say the joke and then reiterate the joke. And it's like, that was just, we did the joke, it's done, let's move on. Great, good, tick.
No, it was a total drive-by, and I'm the same. This meta commentary can often be very egregious and, come off of I write things on the chalkboard every day. But no, this was just a quick little drive-by, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, because if you think about it too much, it doesn't make any sense. He's not picking the things to write.
No.
The idea, it's meant to be detention, but still.
Well, I mean, maybe that is the implication that after so long, he's just doing it out of habit now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, just like the writers.
Yeah, for real. We keep writing stupid things on the Fox network. We need more ideas.
And they keep giving us money.
I gotta say, the thing that stands out to me, and I'm only mentioning it because I think we can peel this Band-Aid of the story off pretty quickly, is the Lisa subplot. This just sucked.
Yeah, it was so boring.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, for a detective little what's she up to thing, she wasn't, like, really leaving any enticing clues. Except, that little riddle of the fucking variation on Big Black Fox skip rope over the acrobat. I don't know.
You forgot Q. The sentence with every letter of the alphabet in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a name for that.
Acrobat has a Q in it. There is a name for it. It's called a pangram or a hollow alphabetic sentence. And so it turns out that she's learning cursive, and then that's just sort of the end of the story. This lacked any impact. The reveal just felt dumb.
Yeah.
And why is she leaving clues? Like, why is she leaving clues exactly? And why is she secretive about it? And why, if she's deliberately leaving clues, why is she doing that? And if she's not deliberately leaving clues, why is she just throwing pages on the ground? It's
she
very
drops
odd.
A lot of things.
And it's much the same in the main story, is that none of the twists and turns feel earned or important. Like, Principal Skinner going, oh, this sheet has the same binder protectors as an old principal I used to know. It just...
And Otto's there. Yeah.
Who is this person?
Who is this person? Why is this happening? Why are we doing this? What?
Yes.
He couldn't have been like, wait, I know this handwriting. That belongs, that would have been something.
Yeah.
Or, maybe having Bart and Milhouse not even able to read what Lisa's written down because it's in cursive and they don't understand it. Maybe that's how you get Skinner involved. I don't know. This is such a nothing plotline.
And fuck it. That's no excuse for Otto to be there. Stop it.
No.
Just stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah. They just keep adding characters in the hopes it'll be funny.
I think it's kind of an interesting thing that, because for the most part, handwriting is out of schools now and, in favor of teaching typing. And I think it's an interesting thing to pursue the lost art form and something that suits Lisa's character. It's kind of a boring thing, so you got to doll it up. You got to jazz it a bit.
Yeah, her ending on this is to go, and you just wasted all this time coming to an extracurricular activity. It's like, you just wasted our time doing that as well, so thanks for that.
Because I thought that was a really nice comment from, like, when Otto's saying, do we even teach cursive at school? He's like, no, we don't. There's no budget. I'm like, oh, that was kind of nice, but everything around it was just kind of meh.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I didn't mind when Otto just goes, I'm bailing out of the bus, and Ralph goes, I'm going to an accident. That was a rare new Ralph line that I like.
Yeah, me too.
So play count. Have you guys seen this episode before today?
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have. I remember the Lisa plot. I don't remember anything else.
Interesting, because I don't remember the Lisa plot, but I remembered the Marge Homer thing.
Are we sharing memories again? Did that transporter accident happen and we're just swapping minds? Shit.
Well, it was better than that last Friday. That was freaky.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Wackiness. Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
Freaky Friday and Last Friday. God damn.
I mean, was it...
Pretty
was
wacky
it,
episode of our lives.
Yeah, well, was it... I mean, I guess not. I don't know. Like, they tried to ground it in some sense of reality, but then they also just can't help doing this things like having Milhouse hanging upside down in the butcher's shop or the pit in the beginning of the episode. But I don't know if you'd call it wacky, just dull. I don't know. I feel like I'm being extra harsh, but also just New Simpsons does just boil my blood a bit.
Yeah. Man, the things I'm going to point out are not wacky like crazy, just wacky. These are the things I was talking about that weren't even jokes. So like Milhouse falls out of the treehouse and then he's like, oh, it's okay, I landed on a mattress. And then you realize, and he's landed on Grandpa. And there's no reaction. There's no sound. There's nothing. It's dead silent. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess.
It's leaving room for you to laugh uproariously.
I guess. And then there's a bit where Homer just hits a skunk when he's driving.
Yeah.
And it's like,
wait, what?
That's a joke? You just ran over a skunk.
I missed that.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And there's the other bit when all the kids are out trying to follow Lisa around and they're like, oh no, it's Father Mike. And this priest starts walking towards them. And then it cuts like, who the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? It feels like I fell asleep for 10 seconds and just dreamed a random, interjection into The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they were about to make some sort of Catholic priest joke heading towards the kids. And I'm like, oh, no. And then I'm like, oh, no. Okay, that was just Father Mike, I guess.
Yeah, that famous character who pops up in random episodes of random TV shows, Father Mike. He's hilarious, I guess.
Uh-oh.
Like, yeah, it's so odd, the choices in this episode. And yeah, one of the, I guess you'd call it wacky things that stands out to me is that, yeah, apparently Homer's sperm is all across the USA right now.
Oh, yeah.
In child form.
Yeah.
That was a weird way to say that.
Yeah, it was.
I am around everywhere in child form.
It was a weird plot line. It was a weird way to hang the final plot line. Like, Marge is all like, oh, I want another baby to enrich our lives and give us new meaning. Oh, wait, Homer, there's a bunch of people out there who've had babies from you. We better not have one. Like,
yeah, that is my big note, is the motivation for backtracking makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this segues into the heart of the episode, I think, because Marge has, like, emotional reactions to all this stuff, but it's not even convenient plot lines. It just feels like, oh, we're doing this now. Like, Marge gets new car, then decides, I want a baby. Like, what the fuck is that connection?
I don't know. The whole we need a new baby plot line pops up in sitcoms every now and then, and it so rarely ever works because, they do the same thing in Family Guy, and in both shows, they already have a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
It's like, how is that not enough already?
No, it's really weird as well because, like, I would make an argument that I feel like out of all The Simpsons, Marge is teetering closer towards acting like herself. Like, I can at least understand how you would get the Marge character and throw her towards wanting another child. Like, that tracks for me. And they had something there at the beginning when she does make the realization. I was like, oh, this is something resembling at least some sort of carbon copy of the Marge and Homer emotional relationship. But then they immediately, they already undermine it with that stupid 3-second pause joke.
Yeah.
And then from there, they lose track of it. Whatever goodwill they had in that first 10 seconds, I just went, nah, you haven't got a handle on this and you're not going to.
No, this that joke was the opposite of a drive-by.
Yeah, they just went on and on and on and on. And yeah, but I like the initial reaction of her going, oh, this car means that we're kind of done. And I like the kind of sense that maybe she doesn't necessarily want a baby right that second. It's just the idea that there's not anything more after this. I get that as an emotion thing. But it just jumps straight into, now let's have a baby right this very second.
And you undercut everything they've just gone through that you've tried to build up. Like, if the whole thing is about Marge wanting this child for this and this reason, how does it track that you were aware that Homer's sperm was out there? Is that a sperm bank? So why is the fact that other people have utilized that have any kind of say in you guys having a child yourselves? It was just odd. What? Like, it feels like a very rushed. They didn't realize how they were going to end it.
And it's weird because, like, they've essentially done that joke before as well, with Barney being like a frequent donor to the sperm bank. And so we're sort of mixing in that a bit with the episode where they think Marge is pregnant and they're going back and telling the story of how they had Bart. So yeah, this ends up feeling like a pale imitation because of that. And because the motivations are so poor, it just feels so unsatisfying. Like when Homer reveals that he actually doesn't want kids, this should be a heart moment, but he just sort of flippantly says it, and it's so unearned and dumb.
Yeah, after so much of him going back and forth with his brain of like, now here's the time you tell her, and he says some kind of lie, and then he just outright says it. And it's like, oh, well, why didn't you do that in the first place?
Yeah.
There's been no change to him to say it now as opposed to not saying it earlier.
Or letting slip something, and then Marge goes, wait, what are you talking about? Like, that scene to just, I don't know, drive the tension a bit.
I mean, he almost does when he's like, yeah, it's nice to have a day out with as a couple without the kids around.
Yeah.
Which is literally what happened.
Yeah.
They had a nice day out without the kids around.
Yeah.
And if that had been what turned Marge around, it would have been great as well. It would have been like, think about how much work that would be. We barely get any time for each other now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's right there.
And isn't it canon in the series that all three of them were unplanned children?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a minefield of emotion there for you to kind of dig up in terms of this is the first time you guys are actually going to try and have a child. Like you're the three before you, because he mentions it. It's like, oh, it started around the time that Bart was born, and that tracks. So that leaves a whole playing field for you to explore in terms of what does it mean for this family to actually actively go out and try for a child. Try to start a family instead of having it, for lack of a better term, thrust upon them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like a minefield of emotion as well. Like, and the fact that they tie the kids up in this dumb B plot is like extra disappointing from that angle because, having the kids involved with this storyline, like that's an extra set of emotions.
Yep.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, in an episode about having children, they did not at any point have a scene with their children.
Yeah. Or, say who was looking after the children.
Yes, I was about to say, who's like, looking after the kids?
It's getting late, we better go to a motel. It's like, you have kids and no one's watching them. Remember that 1-year-old I mentioned?
Yeah.
Mo's looking after them.
Oh, let's just say Mo. Or maybe the mattress. But ultimately, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Felt like an episode of the new Simpsons.
Yeah, not really. Like, ideas are there. Like Bart getting curious about Lisa having a private life and wanting to, invade that, sure. But then just the payoff of it is so bleh.
Yeah, like Homer is sort of himself, but just pale imitations of everything.
Yeah.
And the show as a whole just feels off to me.
They're shadow puppets of themselves.
And it also just feels like even reasons for Bart and Milhouse and Nelson to be together doesn't make sense. Reasons for Otto, Skinner and the kids doesn't make sense. Like it just feels like a lot is just thrown together, whether it's like plot points or resolutions or reasons for characters to be together. It just doesn't feel like a lot of really fine-tuned work has gone into reasons behind things.
No, we keep saying a lot, HD era episodes sort of feel first drafty. This doesn't even feel that. This feels like 0.0001 draft.
Scribbling on a napkin.
Yeah. This is like sort of basic plot ideas with lots of asterisks, come back to this, make better later, Yeah, so that's the integrity question. But yes or no, would you watch this one again?
Nay.
Not actively, no. On purpose?
Yeah, if I need a sleeping aid, then sure.
Yeah, because leading into the next question, what would you change? This isn't like even one where I'm like excited to pick it apart and like, okay, what can we use here? Because, this is just demotivating on so many levels. What about you, BT, though? What would you change about this episode?
Mostly just that ending, because it's just so blah. So maybe, Marge and Homer have stayed over at this motel, so maybe they get a phone call from the kids and they're all panicked and chaotic, and they're like, you need to come home right away, there's all this kind of trouble. And they're like, oh, look, kids are great, but we're so busy with these ones already. Why don't we just keep Homer's sperm in case we want it in the future? Because that was kind of Marge's whole deal, is that the option to have more is going away, whereas this gives her that option, and it can always just be in the background. They can never use it, but knowing it's there is something.
Yeah.
So that would be what I would end it, because that's it makes sense. I can't, like, her decision to stop on this plot line is just apro of nothing.
Yeah. How about you, Sean? What would you like to change?
A complete overhaul in the story, but mainly a lot of like kind of themes and tones, in the sense that this episode feels way too open. Like they open it up to too many characters, too many set pieces, and you can't really track it. At its heart, it's an episode about family, and not as in like we need every family member to have a plot point around it, but it is about the family, the idea of starting a family, of having a new family, of adding to a family. So make it an insular, closed-off story. we don't need the B plot. Have the kids around potentially excited by the idea of having another sibling, or Maggie, even if you want to go to the more wacky side of it, having Maggie comprehending it and kind of being a bit jealous because that she's not going to be the baby anymore, but really make it about Marge and Homer, like, you know, navigating through this idea that they're actually going to plan to have a child and what that means, and maybe through seeing what they have and what they don't have and what the ramifications would be, maybe they come to an understanding that actually they're happy with what they need and they'd rather just kind of work towards their own family and their own happiness rather than needing to kind of feel a supposed gap that they might have, or however they resolve that, but just make it about the five of them as a unit within that house.
Yeah, because that's what stands out to me, and you know my main problem is that the kids weren't involved. And so, yeah, scrap the Beat story entirely. And I think there's two ways you can go about this. Either, yeah, Marge and Homer go on a road trip and leave the kids in the care of, like, Grandpa or something. Again, you're probably treading the same ground as War of the Simpsons, where, you know, I think the kids being at home with Grandpa can lead to something where Marge and Homer question whether or not they should introduce another kid. Or the kids go on the road trip with them and make it hell for them on the way, and they're the ones who want to stop at all the attractions and stuff on the scenic route, you know, making the trip harder. And I think there is a way you can tell that story there where the kids are a bit of a weight, but fuck, we love them, but do we want more of a weight? Yeah. It's just, there's so many interesting ways you can take this, and the fact that they did is just fascinating.
I think what you said kind of really tracks. Like, they can still have their own little B plot, but I think you're right. Marge and Homer should be a part of the resolution of the B plot, because that can kind of drive them to be like, oh wow, we had to do all this just to like get our three kids out of trouble or whatever. 3's enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Instead of just going, I want one of these, but there's so many one of these out there, I don't want one of these anymore. What?
Boring.
Yeah.
And guest stars for the episode, we had one, Jeff Gordon.
Is that okay?
Who?
He's a race car person, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the line, and I'm not quoting it exactly, but it had this much impact. Oh, we deal with a lot of things in our town. Sinkholes, Jeff Gordon, NASCAR driver. Hello, I bet he doesn't come back.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, it's them making a comment on, well, we have so many cameos and a lot of them are just, like, weird one-liners where they never come back. I'm like, but then you just did it. All you're doing is kind of shining a light on it so that you can be like, no, we're part of the audience. We get it. But you still did it.
Yeah. And it's so boring. Just, oh, here's a NASCAR driver. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, no one likes NASCAR drivers.
Like, even if it was like a big high money actor like Michael Caine or something, like
It would have been weirdly funnier to get him to do one line rather than someone I've never heard of.
Yeah.
That could have been him. That could have been a completely made up person. That might not even be a NASCAR driver.
What are you doing here, professional dodgeball player Art McGinley?
Art Vanderlei.
Yeah. Yeah, we're here. Sean, do you have any other notes about this episode before we rank this thing?
Oh, look, I'm deaf in one ear. I heard you say wank this thing, and that kind of feels correct as well.
It was a pile of wank, that's for sure.
Hey.
Look, I'm going to stick to my positive notes, at least for now. I love the genuine concern on the look of Peekaboo Kid's face. That really tracks to me as soon as his father hides away, and the kid just looks genuinely distraught and confused. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, great. Oh, once again, I use the word tracks a lot, but you know, the fact that Homer just through his brain says, oh, I hope it's twins, and then of course he thinks of Patty and Selma, and that freaks him the hell out. I'm like, that feels like a Homerish response, which was nice. I enjoyed that Marge uses, you know, a nice little comment about everything's online now and you can find out anything and information's everywhere. So it's kind of nice for her to get the one up on the car salesman through just going through his Facebook.
Yeah.
Finally, and I think a lot of the characters that we have a bit of fun with are the ones that aren't established characters. So I also liked the engineer. I don't know, I kind of just got a bit of a chuckle out of the idea of, well, you know, I'm not a good judge of mental health because I'm a mechanic, but here you go. I'm like, yep, that is kind of humorous. And also it seems like something Homer would be on board with and try to use. So
I didn't mind the loner wife as well. I thought that was okay a line, but then the tell then show was a bit meh.
And I'm sure you guys will cover the negatives, so I'll leave that to you.
Oh my.
BT, any negatives?
First negative. So we do like a pan through the ground for the sinkhole, and there's like the old Simpsons that are dead in the ground.
Yeah, the Tracy Ullman Simpsons were killed, buried, and then replaced by the new Simpsons.
But recently, because they have all their skin and eyes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Think about that.
Wow, the Simpsons. Oh, what is the trope that's like a name for that? You know, the going in and replacing someone. And
Oh, single white femaling?
is that it? Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
But yeah, Simpsons are identity thieves. This is.
Yeah.
We got to keep a watch out on this.
Was that a Treehouse of Horror episode where they get haunted by their former selves, which doesn't make any sense?
Yeah. Have you seen that one, Sean?
I have not. Should I?
No.
No. But
Okay.
yeah, the Simpsons, like the Tracy Ullman version, as ghosts come back to haunt the current Simpsons, and Homer gets a big, massive crush on Ghost old Marge.
Yeah. Ghost Marge is horny for new Homer.
Look,
Yeah.
it's Treehouse of
Fucking
Horror. That's fine, I guess.
I do like the line of when Chief William's trying to call for Carmen. He's like, just be cool, like Lou. And Lou's just over there going,
Yep.
hey. Like, yeah, Lou's cool. And my little bit of heart that we kind of didn't touch on is I do like Homer's speech where Marge's like, okay, Homer, you have to tell me what you really want now. And he kind of goes on about, I want whatever you want. And tables are better with 4 legs. And cubes are made of cheese, but pyramids are schemes. And he ends it with anything that's half you is going to be completely fantastic or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a good little moment. I like that line. But it's just undermined by immediately then Marge finding out there are so many other Homer babies out there to just give up. And it's stupid. Stupid, stupid.
And that would mean it might be time for my final notes.
Now it's time for his final notes. Elliot's final notes.
Boom, boom.
Sorry for making you do that while you're a bit sick, man.
But it's just, I've a
it's
gluggy
time.
throat and I can't hit the high
Now
notes.
it's time.
Now it is time for his final notes.
Thank you to the Gremlin Choir. Like, I normally hate the Palport names, but I liked the T-Sun Sensibler. I thought that was a very good name for a super practical car.
I don't know. If they don't say put it in H, then I don't care.
Put it in H.
One of the places that Marge and Homer stopped at was Fudgerama. Accidental Futurama reference, I
I
guess.
was actually wondering if that was deliberate or not. And I was like, oh, Elliot, you've dug deep.
No, actually, even in picking this episode, I didn't realize, this kind of relates to the classic one we're doing. And nope, not intentional. Just needed a season 24 episode.
Well, I'm glad you picked this one.
So am I. Sarcasm detector blows up everywhere.
Now,
What do you mean?
And I like Homer's pseudonym, Thad Supersperm. And yeah, again, just the cum imagery in this episode. He goes, there's always some ketchup left in the bottle. Just
yeah.
imagine, smacking that.
Yeah.
That's how it got in the bottle.
I'm actually reminded of a Futurama line with when they're trying to get Kif out of his jar when he's dead, and Amy's just like, just stick the butter knife in it. Come. It's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using our 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode is just you give it participant, but for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, the episodes which the Simpsons could not exist without, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. I'm failing this one. There's so little to latch onto and to like. I was mostly bored about this episode, which makes me think maybe it technically deserves a participant, but it was just so numbing and so disappointing that I just can't do any better than a failure, BT.
And I've been on the participate border the entire time, and I'm just not too sure where I'm going to land on that because it's not egregiously terrible, but at the same time, so many parts just don't work and don't fit. Neither answer feels right to me.
I mean, do you want me to give you my other side of the coin and then you can decide between?
Go for it.
Jump in.
Yeah, well, look, I'm going to give it a participant mainly because there's nothing that's actively harmful and dangerous in this episode. And I know that, Simpsons, especially, after 30 years, they tend to tackle things that maybe they should only tackle if they have a bit more kind of intelligence and kind of, thoughtful processing behind. But this is just an episode that, rightfully, as you say, it's just kind of, there's a few bits that make me chuckle and they've got kind of the inklings of following character continuity, but really it's just uninspired. So it's not harmful. It only makes me angry because I don't watch a lot of new Simpsons. So I'm just constantly baffled by how far it has fallen. But I think it didn't make me absolutely furious. So I think that's why I'm going to give it a participant.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm going to go, I'm going to say a low participant, which I know is not a thing, it's a participant still. Yeah. Mostly just because the biggest problem I have with this are those 3 jokes that are just not even jokes. They're just there, like Homer running over a skunk. And it's like, that happened. But seeing as so little time is spent on that, as much as I don't like the plot line, I don't understand how you can have an episode about family that doesn't involve the family being together. There's just, like you said, there's so little to latch onto on this episode, I'm going to forget it so easily.
Oh, absolutely. This is so forgettable.
Yeah, so it's dangerously close to a failure for just being so boring, but ultimately I just don't have that much feeling for it.
All right. Well, averaging out, that'll be a dull participant. It'll be the 5th episode from season 24 to be called a dull participant. It'll be joining the next 2 episodes chronologically. Gone A.B. Gone. That's when Grandpa reveals that he was dating a jazz singer back in after Mona left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode sucks. Penny Wise Guys, where Lisa breaks her vegetarianism to eat insects.
What?
And Steve Carell is an accountant for the mob or some shit.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, these plot lines, they end in something and some shit.
Yeah.
Also be joining Black Eyed Please. I don't quite remember that one.
Is that the one where Flanders wants Homer to punch him?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, Flanders punches him twice. Yeah, that's right. And also Whiskey Business, where Mo gets a new suit and then makes a brand of whiskey, Maker's Mo.
Ha!
I'm also just already aggravated by kind of 2 canonical misfires, which is Flanders punching people, which is less annoying, but then Lisa giving up vegetarian. Oh my god! Look, I'm angry. Let's go watch another episode.
Well, I mean, it's so annoying because, yeah, just on the last podcast with also another baby bearder, Ellen, Paul McCartney did that episode on the condition that Lisa would stay vegetarian, and the show absolutely knows they were, like, skirting and going over a line with Lisa getting into eating insects.
Great.
Insects don't matter.
Well, I mean, that's the line that they're skirting, and, you know, I'll challenge you on that. But for now,
we
must go to our Teens Era episode, and, oh, this is a doozy. Saddlesore Galactica.
Hey.
Yeah, this will be something. We'll be back. And we are back, and we just watched our Teens Era episode. This was Season 11, Episode 13, Saddlesore Galactica. First released in February of aught. It was directed by Lance Kramer, written by Tim Long.
Tim Long.
Famous writer of Lisa Goes Gaga.
Also, Lance Kramer is a Season 7 Futurama director, so...
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he was brought in for Season 7, so he's actually responsible for, as of recording Simpsons Index here, the latest episode we did on Shut Up and Take My Podcast, Leela and the Gene Stalk.
Oh, wow. And yeah, in the classic episode is another Futurama director, but we will get to that later when I tell you that in this episode, the Simpsons get a horse again, and it ends up being a prize racehorse with a big bad attitude, Duncan Furious D, and it's winning all the races, but then the jockeys are elves that... Let's just get into it, guys. What do you think?
The first 10 minutes of this episode, I thought was a solid gold, and I was like, oh, man, this episode is really great. The writing's snappy. I'm fine with the segues. I'm doing well. And then the 10 minutes passed, and Duncan came in. And from there, oh boy.
Yeah, I found myself like giving every, I don't know, I'd say 5-minute block in this episode a lower rank. Like I was saying to Beej as we were leaving the TV room, I just want to give it every single rank on our scale.
Yeah, man.
Like, because there are so many jokes in here which I use all the time.
And I mean, not even that, but some of the jokes that maybe aren't that great on paper, but their delivery really works. Like Homer having this dream of living existence where he's just got so many pearls, he's basically a pearl emperor. It's garbage, but the delivery on it is weirdly great. Like him just lying on the ground, giggling, dreaming about this, and then goes back into another fantasy, and Marge does the same thing. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, but the delivery kind of sold it so hard, I'm kind of having fun with it anyway.
It's a weird thing where you're not meant to do a hat on a hat, you know, but like Marge doing the piling on of the, it's the only fire extinguisher endorsed by George Foreman and Linda Carter. I wonder what it'd be like if they had a baby. And then she does the same stupid rolling and laughing. It's brilliant and dumb. And let's just get into it. Sean, for better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you?
Okay, I'm just going to give you a particular line that I loved at this because it's the first one my eyes went to, which is, Marge, your pro-mop anti-horse agenda has been clear for some time. And it's just so underplayed and it's just brilliant. Like a lot of the writing is actually... By the writing, I mean the actual dialogue that is used, not so much the plot, is very tight. And that's obviously compared to the last episode we just watched. But I was just surprised at the difference in quality of the writing and the ability to just have jokes and just let them be jokes and just let them sit there. There's just a lot of, it's weird to say restraint, but just once again, comparatively, there's just a lot of restraint here, which I liked.
Well, the jokes writing as well, like there's so many of those, like making the joke, which would have worked on its own and then calling back to it. Like, Homer referring to the horse dealies, what's with the attitude? I just want some dealies. And then later on, those horses will be shaking in their horse dealies. Like, it's really good joke writing.
And just, the good little lines in passing. Like the two jockeys going, just for once, I'd like to run clockwise. I thought I was the only one.
Yeah, I love that.
Again, this drive-by humor, which just, like, it moves at such a brisk speed. And then... other things happen. But anyway, BT, what about you? What stands out to you for better or worse?
I mean, it's got to be the thing that stands out in this episode, period. The secret land of the jockeys. Which... what? Like, it's... because this was a very solid episode up into that hardcore turn into just the wackiest of wacky. Like, the most far out... it's
Sean,
weird.
Sean, you were saying the turn for you was like when Duncan was introduced. Like, I thought that was a little silly, and especially like comic book guy hanging a lampshade. The Simpsons already did it, and I don't know. I was along for that ride, but for me, when the episode turned, was obviously the jockeys.
Remember how I talked about the meta joke? We'll get onto that later. But Jockey Land is just... This episode, if I'm correct, is pretty much what many fans consider to be a jumping the shark point, like a very early jumping the shark point from what I've seen, where it just started losing its way.
Yeah, there are definitely a few like milestone episodes where you can say, okay, this is where, the seam started popping and the Simpsons started becoming undone. And certainly this one is, referenced alongside Principal and the Pauper and, you know, things like that where, the Simpsons just sort of went too far into the wacky direction.
Yeah, the philosophy of jumping the shark is difficult because it's like, what exactly do people mean by that? Is it just like an outlandish episode that would never normally happen? Because then people point to Deep Space Homer, which is fair enough.
Absolutely.
But that's still a good episode, so surely it's got to be something that's just terrible. But
jumping the shark is definitely an overused term, but I think this is definitely, I look at this episode and I go, this is when they start toying with the idea of throwing in absurdity for the sake of absurdity.
Absolutely. The point of asking the wackiness and the heart on the index, I find, is exploring where it sort of lands on that like grid of wackiness and heart, where it's like, it's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's just, to what extent are they using these things and is it effective? And in this case, like, I'm totally on board for the Duncan horse, like everything leading up into that point. It's just the jockeys, which are just way too far into the wackiness. And does it work? No, the jokes in this section suck.
Yeah, and the conclusion of this is Marge and Lisa hose them down and put them in the garbage.
Yeah.
That's how this ends.
Do they then just give up? Is that the idea? Like, these jockeys have made it pretty clear
Sure, get it. They're wet now. So they're done. It's over because they're wet. Like, what are they going to do?
The jockey's arch enemy.
Yeah. You know, once you get wet, it's over. You're like the Wicked Witch of the West. It's just done.
Who would have ever thought a small amount of liquid could ever land on me?
Exactly.
It's just... Because the other thing is, I'm like, okay, you're going down this road, Simpsons. Is it worth it? Is there at least a handful of anything to latch onto? And the song in this section sucks as well. Like, and I think it's pretty insulting to jockeys. Like, it's like, I don't really want to defend anyone involved in the horse racing industry because it's profiteering off animal cruelty. But like,
the suggestion here is jockeys are small people. They must be secret little elves.
Yeah. No, like, make fun of jockeys for being, abusive assholes, but don't make fun of their height. That's just wrong. Anyway, what stands out to me?
What does stand out to you?
All right, it's something that I, quote all the time, and as a music fan, I absolutely adore this scene of, Homer watching, I've already forgotten all the initialisms. BTO.
BT? I just remember BT, and that's how I remember.
Oh, yeah. BT Overdrive. Yeah, playing their songs TCB and ASNY. Yeah, I thought they did very well in this episode.
Yeah, and I do like Homer's dickishness of, his love of music and just play taking care of business. Get to the work and overtime.
I just love the idea of someone heckling at a concert to get to the next section. We don't want the verse.
I do like, no talking, no new crap, TCB.
Yeah.
And as someone who has only ever been to one music gig in my entire life, I can't relate so much. Yes, I have only ever seen Linkin Park live back in 2010.
I'm
I
so
want to
sorry.
say, yeah. Yes, 2010. And that was it. That's the only thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah. Music I do not have a big relationship with, but movies I do. Thus, these podcasts.
All right.
No, because that's something like, I'm getting a concert itch fucking crazy right now in isolation times.
No.
Because especially this month was going to be huge. For me, it was going to be Offspring, Tame Impala, Alanis Morissette. And I was thinking about going to Adelaide for Faith No More, but nope.
Did Ellen tell you how she was unable to go see My Chemical Romance in New Zealand?
She did.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we just play all those three bands on the same TV at the same time?
And with Wizard of Oz.
Yes. See if they sync up.
So what was I saying? Oh, yeah, Bachman Turner Overdrive. Yeah, our guests for this episode, Randy Bachman.
Bachman Turner.
Bachman and Turner. Randy Bachman and Fred Turner.
And Overdrive?
Overdrive was the collective.
Oh.
There wasn't a person in the band called Overdrive.
And that's how you do a cameo. That was nice. I got a chuckle.
But yeah, it's weird that Homer says that they were the answer to ELP, which was Emerson, Lake and Palmer, when Palmer, isn't functioning as the same word as Overdrive in that sentence. That is a person.
Palmer's a person, but Overdrive, how am I supposed to keep up with this?
Fucking music, yeah.
I'm just trying to take care of business, and they're making it so hard.
Well, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Damn it.
And just while we're on guest stars as well, Trevor Denman apparently is a horse racing caller guy, and he was being a horse racer caller guy in this episode.
Much like the stock car dude, they could have just made that up, and I would have no idea.
Yeah.
Good God, I thought you were going to say Bill Clinton for a second. I'm like, I never.
No, that was Clinton.
Wait, what?
No.
Don't know. Good. Like, hey, I'm trusting you here.
Yeah.
Don't burn me.
No, I don't think Bill Clinton would appear on a show to say, I was a pretty lousy president.
He might be a baby beater, but he wasn't born yesterday.
I mean, Al Gore would. Just saying. Al Gore would.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Lisa made it pretty explicit that they do not want Al Gore.
The country made it pretty explicit they don't want Al Gore.
Well,
hey, Futurama will take him.
And the other guest star, Jim Cummins, famous voice actor, was doing all the noises for Duncan.
Oh, really? Not Frank Welker.
Yeah. So, yeah, guest stars for the episode. Play count. Have you guys seen this one before today?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Any memories particularly...
Yeah, just going, what the fuck?
I actually remembered as a kid, because I remember seeing this pretty close to when it actually came out. And when you mentioned this episode, three things stood out for me as just random memories. One was the jockey song, because I have quoted that endlessly. I just always have "We are jockeys, jockeys are we" in my head. And
Really?
the chocolate streamline, for better or worse. And also just the clip of so it's when we've got Furious D being a badass, and it's just him whacking them from side to side with his head and grabbing one of the jockeys in his mouth. I just have that as a visual reference for this episode. Just weird things that I don't have any ties to, but I just go, oh yeah, that episode.
Yeah, the history with this episode, I feel like this is one that I keep forgetting the ending because I've seen it a lot. And there are so many lines that I pull out and
It's such
use.
a hard left turn or right turn or... It's a turn.
It definitely goes counterclockwise at one point. But yeah, especially the fucking monocle line. I've used that so many times. That's my third monocle this week. I simply must stop being so horrified. It's just delivery, action, all of it. It's fucking amazing.
Absolutely.
And yeah, you can use it in everyday life because everything is so horrifying.
Yes, my word.
So wackiness.
Oh
I mean, yes, it is wacky.
Yeah.
There's a wacky plot.
Wacky jockeys.
Well, even before that, we've got Marge feeds a mop.
Yeah.
But I do like all the products she's seeing in the thing. Like Miracle Shears just cuts through a car door, and the drain buggers, little bug, just goes through a drain, eats all this crap, and then becomes a butterfly.
Ooh, Simpsons playlist of butterfly playlist, like that one where the caterpillar crawls up Homer's chest when he's sleeping, and then he accidentally swallows it and coughs it up. It turns into a butterfly. Very good joke.
Oh, it's visual humor at its best, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, Mo. The other bit I remember from this, and I will fight you. I love this line. It's Mo's heart beating out of his chest. This is a serious medical problem. I love that joke. It's just, it tickles me in all the right ways.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he finally has a meet cute, and then, what is it, Tex Avery?
What?
The cartoon dog.
That,
Classic eyes popping out of the head, tongue unfurling, a wooger, all that
The
shit.
heart, the thump.
Yeah. Again, it's such a wacky, out-of-reality joke that I should hate, but I love.
They treat it as such, like, oh, well, this is not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where this episode, when it succeeds, like, because Duncan the diving horse, like, they played that totally real.
Yeah.
Like, the horse just being so reluctant and them just tilting the diving board, and he's, like, climbing up on the smallest part before he reluctantly falls.
And when they winch him back up, he's just like, all right, let's do this.
The audience is absolutely horrified.
So I found another great little wacky line of Homer going, if that horse doesn't win, we're going to take a trip to the glue factory and he's not going to come. And then Lenny's like, yeah, that's a great tour. Can't do it all in one day, though.
Oh,
like it's the Louvre.
yeah, so great.
The Gloove.
Ooh, I like it.
Any other wackiness stand out to you, Sean?
Look, I just refer to him as Frank Sinatra Kid. It's not... Wait, like, what? Like, it was kind of just weird and out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, no. Is this what the episode is? Because that was like the first low point for me, is just weird Frank Sinatra Kid, and then it kind of took a turn for the better. As far as no, I think that's really what I have in terms of wackiness.
Yeah, all these like little things are so indicative of the episode as a whole. Like, just weird little Frank Sinatra Kid, and it's just. And I think this episode, it is polarizing because of all these little things. Because, like, the Mo thing, the Frank Sinatra Kid, Duncan as a whole, and then the jockeys. I could see where people could go either way on them. Well, not the jockeys. I could only expect people would hate that. But I don't know. You said you like the song. Like,
I did like the song.
I found Sinatra Kid kind of weirdly endearing. Because it was so out of place, I kind of find it interesting. It's like, I know, and I also knew the episode wasn't going to be about him.
But just bringing in that New York swagger with the ring-a-ding-ding and, oh, what a fruit fly, and it's odd. But there's so much more wackiness to go over, but let's just go over to the heart. Did you guys feel any bumps?
I mean, Bart's relationship with Duncan is kind of cute, but there's not too much there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I didn't really feel much heart, but I did, especially in the first 10 minutes, I really appreciated how they showed that every Simpsons family member is really on board with Lisa's cool song and cool playing. Like even Bart, because that ties into a lovely line. He's like, man, Lisa really rocks.
Yeah.
Also almost made a wish like I did something with my life. Oh, well. Which is both consistent with Bart's character and proves that it's not just, let's just shit on Lisa all the time for no reason. Like, there's genuine relationships and complexity between all the family members.
Yeah, and like the back and forth of, honey, that was the best version of Living in America I've ever seen. Third best for me.
Yeah.
Or even Homer just oblivious as, Lisa's losing the contest and just that hearty thumbs up. And
he doesn't know what's going on but wants to be supportive.
Yeah. So, it's weird in this episode, with a horse, when Lisa has professed her love of horses so much throughout the years, and she's just not involved with the Duncan storyline at all.
True. Well, she's obsessed with righting injustices.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've already sort of hung on it in the episode with Comic Book Guy, calling them up on their shit, like, Mom, I think you're developing a gambling problem. Hey, I'm watching you.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if Lisa was involved with the Duncan storyline, maybe it would have edged a bit too close to Lisa's pony, but...
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe it just goes the other way in that she's kind of realized, maybe you shouldn't be exploiting this horse and doing all this stuff. Like, I'm kind of against this, actually. It's weird that she didn't have, like, either a love for ponies or a kind of a dislike for what they're doing with Duncan. So it's just, it's kind of weird to not have Lisa involved. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, Duncan's not at a stable or anything. He's just at their house.
Yeah.
So that's not enough room for a horse.
like, her story was going all right until the band contest ended, and then it was just her writing a complaint letter, and then fucking Bill Clinton comes in at the end. It's just...
Although I do love, it's like, well, I was going to give you the Good Spirit Award, but now I'm just going to be sick.
Yeah. I did like that from the comptroller, and like, the Sportsmanship Award is like way bigger than the fucking plaque they would have gotten for winning first place anyway. That's, some good shit. But yeah, otherwise, there's not really much to talk about with the heart, is there?
Not really.
No, not really.
But did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Again, until things took a hard turn onto Wacky Street.
Yeah. Like, it does, because I think it, it comes down to what I really value over at least my remembrance of The Simpsons, which is, are they acting like themselves, and are their relationships stable, and are people there for a reason, and does things, for the most part, make sense? And yes, it does. So I did get that wave of why I love The Simpsons, which started from the moment I got the actual classic opening credits to the first 10, or at least all up until fucking Jockeyland.
And during that song as well, there was one jockey that was obviously Nancy Cartwright, and it really took me out of it.
Yeah, as if you weren't out of it already.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically like a new Homer job / new Bart project. That's, Simpsons bread and butter right there. So
yeah. And yeah, we've seen Bart's empathy for animals before, got that elephant and...
Well, I kind of love-hate how they got there because, Homer's teaching Duncan how to play football and he's doing really well. So you think you're going like an Air Bud kind of situation. He's like, and let me just check if horses can play in the NFL. Dope. Which was a bit,
I liked that.
Yeah, but I do like he trained him first, then looked it up.
Yeah.
But then, Bart's just like, hey, he's actually a pretty good runner. He's like, race horse, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, character integrity, I don't think there's any like super big breaks. It's just, the show as a whole doesn't feel like The Simpsons in the third act. Yeah, like I said, all the wackiness leading up to it, I could kind of be on board with. What do you reckon, Sean? I
have to agree with you. Like, it's one of those things where, as a whole, like, I agree. Everyone's acting like themselves, and I'll talk about it later, but in terms of, like, what I would change, like, all I wanted, really, from them is to see more of Marge and Lisa. I kind of just wanted, I kind of want to see more of that plot line. Yeah. Because I'm quite interested in it. But, everyone's still acting like themselves. Whenever you have a Homer Bart plotline, it's usually we also then get to focus on Marge and Lisa and them going, well, what crazy hijinks can we get up to?
Yeah, it's sort of, now that you mention it, it's weird to me that they set up Marge like having splurged on all these crappy products she's bought at the county fair for them not to come into use, that all they did was spray the jockeys with super soakers.
Well, they didn't want to say she underfed the mop and it died.
Imagine if she brought the mop back to eat the jockeys.
Just think about that sentence, Elliot. Think about that sentence long and hard.
Yep.
Nah, I'm on board. Just mop all the jockeys in the world.
But yes or no, would you watch this one again?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. If nothing else, it's just it's a fun episode, and then it's kind of a good kind of insight into where Simpsons starts to explore with what will be new Simpsons. I think it's an important episode in that capacity as well.
Yes, this might be the one where Tim Long loses his mind.
Yeah, I absolutely think this episode needs to be studied, and,
As does Tim Long.
As do jockeys.
Like, there's just so many fascinating things about, like... Yeah, this is an important episode in The Simpsons history, but not because it is an amazing episode, because it is definitely a turning point for them. And
yeah, what season was this again?
11.
11. Yeah, I think this is like the literal pinpoint moment where it turns into New Simpsons.
Yeah, because even, I reckon you could consider a lot of season 10 classic Simpsons.
A lot of good stuff there. Max Power is in season 10.
Exactly. But then, season 11 has like shit like this and Mad Marge and Melly Gibson's episode. And it's definitely the turning point. But, I think the episode as well works in, it's a great episode. Then the third act comes around and then just go make yourself a sandwich.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go
yes, indeed.
Order yourself a short and have a chef yell fuck and throw feta cheese and bread at you.
I'm glad you brought that up because I could not for the life of me remember what my sandwich was.
We can always check it out on the hidden sandwich board on the simpsonsindex.com.
It's not hidden very well.
Guess you're dealing with Squarespace. They're not great at hiding things.
But they are great at making user-friendly website building creation tools.
Available now.
We are not sponsored by them, but we should be.
Yes.
Anyway, but might watch this again. What playlist would this go in? What Simpsons episodes pair well with this one?
I'd like to make a playlist of Lenny's Eye.
Oh, yep.
So when they're at the
Yes.
fair and they're looking at those goggles that protect your eyes when you're taking the rubber band off the newspaper, and Lenny's like, too late for Lenny. To put this with when he's like, my eye, I'm not supposed to get pudding in it.
Yep, and Jigsaw's as well. And that time, Homer's little springy
Yep.
got caught in Lenny's and Moe's eye. Yeah.
I'd put it in a playlist of the Simpsons family and sports, whether it's Homer becoming a coach for Bart's football team,
Lisa's
or
hockey.
his foray into baseball as a mascot. Like every time they kind of delve into a particular sport for the first time.
And softball as a player, yeah, that'd be a great one. But okay, let's try and break this open and see what we can work with. BT, what would you like to change?
That third act. That's it. That's what I want to change. I was having a pretty good time up until then.
How about you, Sean? What would you like to change?
I would like to see more of the Marge and Lisa storyline. I'd love to really explore like kind of how, because you know when Lisa gets really obsessed with something and against for better or worse, she just really can't let it go. And sometimes it's petty, and that's what is great. Like I like exploring that. Lisa, she's an 8-year-old kid as well, so she just gets petty about things and really kind of not letting it go, and then Marge really having to like kind of, Lisa, it's okay, like this. And whether we take a lot of what made that third act and just kind of, you know, eliminate the whole jockey storyline and then find a way to really explore that a bit more, I would have been very interested. And whether, you know, Elliot, you said this before, maybe it's Marge's kind of foray into weird products from the fair that kind of factors into the resolution of the A-plot. I don't know.
Yeah, look, it's not that I didn't like the Lisa storyline, but I think it does get in the way here. Like, I think there is a number of ways you can get into the county fair, or the state unfair, as it was.
Yes, Lisa, that's what I meant. The state
Zing.
unfair.
Actually, my screwing that up reminded me of a joke I liked at the start where he's like, we're good enough to go to the county fair. And there's no reaction. I mean, the state fair. Yeah! Woo! I really enjoyed that joke. Yeah, I think if you can get into the state fair some other way and have Lisa involved in the horse storyline, I think, yeah, you were saying, Sean, have her rally against the horse racing industry, but, you know, be mixed on it because she likes having a horse around. I think it's weird that she was sidelined in this episode about a horse. Again, you don't want it to feel too much like Lisa's pony, but, you know, they're going down this road again. They did something objectively interesting and different with it. I just think it's a shame that Lisa wasn't involved, and, yeah, it almost goes without saying, but reinforce it. What the fuck were they thinking with the fucking jockeys? It's just...
But get it, Elliot, the jockeys get wet. Like, come on.
And they live in a fiberglass tree.
Yep. You know in the, Lisa's Rival episode where Bart's plan is to get Allison wet and that's going to stop her? It clearly would have worked because you get jockeys wet and they just stop being your antagonist.
Yeah.
That'll learn them good.
They just fall over and slip down the drain like a dinosaur sponge.
I mean, that's ridiculous. You have to put them in a garbage bag, Elliot. God, if you're going to be serious, why do we do this?
Oh, dear. Yeah, look, I can't believe it. We're here. But, who's going to go first? Sean, do you have any other notes?
I have a lot of notes. And once again, I'm just going to focus on all the things that I really liked because I've got a lot of notes from the first half. But basically, I
Good
love...
old positive Sean.
I know. Look, I'll flip it and I'll go for the negatives in the classics if I can find them.
Good luck.
Little attention to detail. Like I love exploring lore in TV shows. The fact that we bring up Ogdenville again.
Yeah.
I love the attention to detail and when Homer's being an absolute arse when he's calling out to the band and he's dancing. It's not just that everyone's staring at him and just going, ugh, who is this person?
Yeah.
Some of them are still grooving along. Some are staring at him. Some change their mind halfway through. Some nice little attention to detail. Oh, I love that Marge doesn't call it betting. She says, oh, I just don't know who to vote for.
Very Marge.
Oh, that's right. And he points out, I think you want that line over there for the wuss bets. Again, another thing I use all the time.
And also a good use of your Chief Wiggum, which is, I'd rather let 1,000 guilty men go free than chase after them. And finally, the other Chief Wiggum line, which is, it's such a good comment. This is animal cruelty. Do you have a permit for that?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. How about you, BT? Any other notes?
Yeah, for sure. Homer deep fries his shirt. He's like, see, Marge, I told you they could do it. I didn't say they couldn't. I said you shouldn't.
Homer as food. Yeah, put this in with Treehouse of Horror where he has Donut Head.
Yeah. I like when the horse is strapped to the roof of the car and then taking him home. He's like, tunnel, ducks.
Yeah.
See, there's an act break joke.
Yeah.
Like, the last episode, just the act break jokes fell so flat. And, yeah, here's one where it fucking...
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Homer's line where it's like, Lisa's like, hey, did you use my bracelet as a nose ring? Possessions are fleeting. And again, it's just a little pass-by line. It just goes...
Just so wistful and philosophical there. Like,
Yeah, and my final note is when they're like, if Duncan wins this race, he can go out to stud. And then Homer's like, well, it is the good life. Being a stud, baby.
It's weird how he was getting like all horse horny later on. Can you imagine her face on her body? That was just odd.
Yeah.
And now horse horny is the thing that I will be using in real life.
And it's time for my final notes. I love when the jockeys are saying to Homer, you think your horse can run the race? And he's like, well, he ran all the way here. And yeah, my final note is, did we hit on enough about President Clinton's appearance in this episode?
And how wacky it was at the end?
Yeah.
Not really, because
here, Lisa, here's your trophy. I'm a bad president. Bye.
Yeah, but there's also kind of the weird anti-moral of, if you've got a problem, just complain until it gets better.
Yeah, and then it ends with a cartoonish, like, circle around Clinton's face as he does, like, this upper lip biting his lower ones. Like, oh, look at me.
Biting his lip, that's a horny Clinton.
Keep him away from those horses. It's time to rank this thing, and it's BT's turn to do the unenviable task of starting the rankings for this episode.
No, I think I know where I want to sit on this one. Look, I could have given this a silver if it wasn't for their wacky as hell conclusion, which just spoils it. And it's so weird because they're only like 3 scenes of wacky jockiness that if you come up with anything else, I probably would have had some fun with this. So I'm going to give it a bronze. I'm going to give it the rare rank of a cubic bronze because it's such a weird episode. You kind of want to see it.
Yeah.
So much like Cubic Failure, where it's so terrible you have to see it, I think this is a good argument for where did the Simpsons jump the shark. And it's just, I think it is absolutely a turning point for their humor. And man, just you've got to witness this one.
Yep. How about you, Sean?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be in the same kind of boat as BT. And I actually wrote down a note. I said first 10 minutes, gold. And I meant that both in a ranking way and in a Sean way. It's gold, baby. Yep. But then it just kept, as you said, Elliot, the rank kept going down as we went. And I want to give it a silver, but I just kind of compare it to a lot of other silvers that I believe we have voted for in the past. And it just doesn't quite meet it. But it's a very good rumination on where, it's a kind of a perfect blend on what Simpsons does really well and what they do really badly. And it is that nice little kind of look into the past and what made future great and just kind of foreshadowing what's to come. So it's a really interesting episode and how, you can have moments of wackiness, like Mo having a real goddamn heart attack, but then also everything to do in Jockey Land. And so I think it's okay. Like, it's good. I was entertained. I laughed at a lot. There's a lot of notes, positive notes that I made in the first 10 minutes, but yeah, a cubic bronze.
We have said often on this podcast, it's so important for an episode to stick the landing because, an episode that finishes better than it started will always feel better at the end. And, much like the same reason we now start with the HD era episodes rather than, the first few episodes of the podcast where we ended with it because we wanted to end strong. Yeah. And this is a weird example of an episode. And I think, turning point is a great phrase for it because, like, I've said a lot that The Simpsons, it didn't suddenly become a bad show. It was more of a gradual decline. But in this one, you can see a just genuine pivot point in this episode. And it turns on a dime. It's fascinating. I'm rambling up to it. I think the ending letting me down, I'm going to give it a little bit of leeway and give it a silver because I think, it was never going to be a cubic episode, but I was having such a good time and there's so many great jokes that I quote over the years that giving it bronze sort of just feels a little too harsh for me. But I can't ignore the jockey ending. But it's why I'm going down to a silver rather than giving it a gold.
Yeah, because even the jockey ending, you keep the spirit of it, but don't make them pixie elves. Just say they're in some kind of mafia and they threaten to kill Homer if he wins.
Elliot, you have persuaded me.
Oh,
you have persuaded me, sir.
You're going up?
I'm going up to a silver. I think, what? I'm doing what I said I was going to do off air, which is I need to check in with myself. And genuinely, I look at the amount of notes and positive notes that I'm putting up into that first 10, 15 minutes, and I enjoy myself a lot more than a bronze. So I need to be real. And I need to be fair. It is a silver.
All right, cool. And BT, you're happy where you're at?
Always.
Always happy. Always happy.
All right, well, that'll be a Dull Silver. This will be the first episode from season 11 to be called a Dull Silver. Yeah, it'll be joining some other Teens Era episodes like The Old Man and the Sea Student. That's, with Springy. We mentioned him before.
Aww.
Simpsons Bible Stories, which is a weird
mixed bag,
compilation episode. And 24 Minutes, the 24 parody.
I like that one.
Yeah. But yeah, this is an episode which definitely transcends our ranking scale.
It's a tough one for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think at home?
Yeah, it's one of those ones where I'm like, yeah, the ranking isn't like representative of the episode. It is something that needs to seem to be truly understood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, while you're listening to us rate on the Simpsons Index, you should rate the Simpsons Index on iTunes or any good places where you can rank the apps and let us know what you thought of this episode. There you go. Spruiked for you.
Damn. Smooth Sean with the segues.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. The future is behind us. Let us get right into the past, where we go to the season 6 episode, And Maggie Makes 3.
Ah.
I am so looking forward to this episode. Do you know what happens in it?
I'm still trying to figure out how the future is in the past. But continue.
Because the
Let me
future
guess.
episodes.
Is this where Homer gets sand in his underpants?
It sure is. All right, we're going to go watch that. We'll be back.
Sand in his underpants.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I have to turn to the other page. And we are back, and we just watched our classic and final episode for the day, and fuck me, what a classic this was. This was Season 6, Episode 13, And Maggie Makes 3. First released in January of 1995, it was directed by future alum Swinton O. Scott III.
Best name.
Futurama alum or future Futurama alum?
Future?
Future Futurama alum.
As in, he hasn't happened yet?
Future alarm is not a good sentence. Future alarm.
Oh, right.
Future alarm is what I'm hearing.
I am alarmed. And yes, Swinton O. Scott, yeah, you're very familiar with him, hey, Sean?
Swinton.
I am. He is quite a prolific director for a little old TV show that I have been doing a podcast for the last couple of years.
Oh, really interesting.
Yeah, it's called Game of Thrones. No, so this is very clearly Futurama, and he does one of my favorite episodes, which is 300 Big Boys, and one of everyone's favorite episodes, which is Jurassic Park, the one that tears your heart in 3.
Yes.
Wow. Clearly got a knack for the heartstrings. Although I think $300 is my favorite. So.
Just the way they use the ensemble cast in that episode is ridiculous.
Just Fry becoming a otherworldly being once he drinks 300 cups of coffee. Sorry, 100 cups.
As someone who has to cut down his coffee intake because I think it's actually giving me palpitations, I don't envy Fry.
You're turning into a hummingbird of some kind.
It's like we were saved by an orange blur.
And it was written by Jennifer Crittenden, and this was her first writing credit for The Simpsons.
Really?
And yeah, 23 years old at the time, and she was plucked out of like an accelerated program. And yeah, first episode of The Simpsons written at 23, and it's fucking this one.
God damn.
That is
cool.
crazy.
Amazing.
That is absolutely insane.
And in this episode, this is the one where Homer tells the story of how Maggie was born. Guys, what did you think?
I'm not crying, you're crying. We're all crying.
Considering this is the first time in what is it, 2 hours that I've been given goosebumps by The Simpsons, I think it's done pretty well for itself.
Yeah, I was genuinely welling up at that last moment. And I've seen this episode a million times. I knew it was coming, but I was like, the music and the photos and the do it for her. Fuck.
Yeah, it's one I've seen a million times, but I've not seen it for a good long time. So
yeah,
I was very interested to go into this one and like, how does this hold up? And I gotta say, it does.
Yeah.
Curiously, when you get episodes like this, the ones that you know are quintessential Simpsons episodes, are there any ones that haven't lived up to the hype? The ones that you came in going, nah, this is perfect, this is great, and then it hasn't quite lived up to that expectation?
I recently reviewed Camp Krusty. Didn't really stand up as well as I thought it would.
Yeah, I don't think there have been any that have been like genuinely bad, but definitely not as much of a highlight as we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because especially that one is like, it's iconic because it's taking The Simpsons in a different spot, so it sticks out more in the mind. Whereas I remember when we went into doing Mr. Plow, I was like, like the Mr. Plow aspect is so iconic, you know, is this episode going to live up? But that episode is relentless with its joke telling.
Man.
It is
Amazing.
so fucking tight. But I mean, off the top of my head, yeah, Camp Krusty's the only one that's sort of sticking out.
I'm sure there's others that did well but didn't do as well as we thought or something like that.
I guess because that was our Amazon Women in the Mood, where we everyone remembers Snoo Snoo from Futurama, but we left that going, more problematic than we remembered.
No, I remember because I love watching Futurama and then listening to you guys on your podcast, Shut Up and Take My Podcast. And I remember that at the time when I saw you guys were doing Amazon Women in the Mood. I watched the episode and I was like, huh. And then I listened to your podcast and you guys were also like, huh.
I don't know. I think I'll forgive it entirely for, well, it's built like a steakhouse, but it handles like a bistro.
Yeah.
You win again,
and also,
Gravity.
Yeah.
And also B. Arthur, one of the best cameos, best voiceover artists that came into the show.
Oh, yeah, playing Sonia.
Yeah.
That was very good. Oh, but yeah, The Simpsons, this episode. Sean, for better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you?
The fact that characterization actually makes sense into this, and I'm going to focus on Homer. It is Homer actually being the perfect blend of humorous and also, like, he's not dumb. He's not unintelligent. It actually makes sense when he doesn't understand things like advanced marketing or even basic marketing or even just what the hell does marketing actually mean.
I love that, like, yeah, his solution to this is throw out the complicated books and work on the easier ones, not like keep the books and work up to them. It's just like, just throw them
Throw
out.
him out entirely. And he just ends with him just staring at a bowling ball going, how do I sell you? Of course!
It just really makes sense, and it's not insulting the audience's intelligence, you know what I mean? And like with latter episodes, they're insulting the audience intelligence by thinking that you're just going to forget about this character from 30 years ago. But it's like, it's clearly a well-crafted, complex character that isn't just dumb for the sake of being dumb. It's, he ain't a smart man, but also he knows how to balance a budget and he can make, proper decisions as a family member. And he does fly by the seat of his pants and stay in the impulse zone a lot, but also he's still a human being.
Yeah, and I like in this episode because he's been always shown to be a bad nuclear power plant employee, but, given the right environment and the right motivation, even working for less money, Homer can excel.
Yeah, I mean, I do like his whole montage of he sprays down the shoes with deodorant. He's like, bowling fresh.
Yeah.
And then, urinal fresh.
But yeah, he's such a good employee to the point that, Uncle Al will look over the fact that he put his head in the Shino Bolo.
Well, he said he didn't. What, are you going to distrust him?
Giving us, Baldy, something to aspire to. I'm still looking for a Shino Bolo. If any,
I'll let you know.
if any bowling alleys that happen to be listening right now, I'm assuming you're playing the Simpsons Index over the bowling alley speakers.
Everyone loves it.
How about you, BT? What stands out to you for better or worse?
I mean, this is a hard one to pick moments from, other than, it's big, hard moment, but I feel like we'll get to that anyway. No, I just want to talk about some of the great lines that come out of this. So I mentioned it going into the episode of, Marge, I've got sand in my underpants. And just how gleefully he comes back and adds more and shakes it around. He's
Gives a
having
little
the time of
sand
his
shimmy.
life. Yeah, a little shimmy.
Oh, just the crevices that sand has gotten into. See, I fucking hate the beach, and sand in underpants is one of them.
It's where water meets dirt.
I'm sorry, but he has to be a sociopath. Like, how? what person willfully shoves sand in their underwear? Like, it's no, just absolutely not. And you are a bad human being if you do.
I really hope he had a shower before they made Maggie.
Really hope so. But also the line of when he's, because what I like about this episode is it's just how happy Homer is in the Bowl-O-Rama. And it's kind of really heartbreaking to watch him struggle with that because he's finally happy. Like you're saying, he excels at this place. He's actually a good employee. He even has a line, I've never been good enough to deserve a raise before, but I'm damn good at this job.
Yeah.
But no, just him just making the prayer of, Dear Lord, just freeze everything exactly the way it is. If you agree to this, give me absolutely no sign. That will be done. And then he's just like, to cement our deal, I give you this offering of cookies and milk. If you want me to eat them for you, give me absolutely no sign. That will be done. And just how much quicker his response to getting the cookies is, I think it's just a great bit of comedic timing. He's like, I mean, the perfect life is nice, but cookies.
No, and it is doing this thing that this episode does so well is, tying in these hilarious jokes with, all these sentimental moments. And, I think what stands out to me, just a general point, is like, in comparison to a lot of season 6 episodes where my note-taking hand is just on fire because of how relentless the episode is, delivering excellent jokes and plot. This one's a bit of a slower burn, and I think it works because of that. But the weighting of the jokes to emotional storyline is... like, especially in that scene where Homer does leave the Bowl-O-Rama and, he got that jacket that he eyed off earlier in the episode and they put a funny pun on the back and everyone's like, oh, it's so sad. Hey, I know what'll cheer us up. bowling.
Hey, it's bowling. Yeah.
And then even under this soundtrack, a really sad, somber soundtrack, you can just hear all these people having fun, just really undercutting the moment in a really good way.
You know, what we talk about a lot in the newer era Simpsons is when it lacks that transitional music. And this is an amazing moment of that transition. You get the people having a good time with the bowling armor kind of fade out. You got this very bleak soundtrack with kind of like a funeral bell tolling. And it just adds so much more weight to it. And that final sting with Do It For Her has that sweet sentimental music playing. It just lands it so much harder for having its proper music stings in this.
God, it's fantastic. You know, you've mentioned about 5 things in those last couple of paragraphs, Elliot, where I go, okay, no, shut up about that. That'll go into the different sections because there's just so much to talk about. Things that go into the heart or the wackiness or all that sort of thing. It's just like there's just so much good about this episode, and I am excited to talk about it.
So it's not like your rapid fire comedy, but it's still so well structured and built and paced. And I had the biggest goofy smile on my face during this entire thing, just because the weight of the great jokes just carries you through in the mood, and all that's super good.
Well, getting into all that stuff, and I think one of the wacky things about this episode that it does really well is doing a big general parody of the characters telling a story within the TV show.
I love all that.
And there are so many funny, wacky tropes that are played with that. Like when they come back from the ad break and Homer, his head explodes.
Yeah, because Bart's telling the story. I enjoy the kind of humor of they know they're a TV show, like when, Homer, you had a head and your body was a little bigger.
Yeah.
And even before that, when, why are there no pictures of Maggie? Oh, well, that's an interesting story. I'm glad you asked.
And it's kind of really interesting to kind of look back on the 90s and even the noughties to an extent, but even then it was kind of petering out by that point. Like all of us grew up in the time when sitcoms were king and queen. You know what I mean? Like even now, I think the last of the shows like, Big Bang Theory and How I Met Your Mother and 2.5 Men, those were kind of the last vestiges of the multi-camera sitcom. Whereas back then, that was these shows to watch, your Fresh Prince, your Seinfeld and Friends and all that. And a lot of them really took note of utilizing that, well, we don't want to write this week, let's do a clip show. And so it's The Simpsons really playing on that, you know what, there's a thunderstorm or there's something that forces us to be home together and let's just talk about things that happened. And it felt like a bit of a wink and a nod to that sort of style too.
And I like that it does start with Marge insisting on an hour of family time, and they're just sitting in silence like, I know, let's get the photo album.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Night Boat. And here's our TV next to a mirror. It looks like we have 2.
Yeah. It's sort of weird how, like, Lisa and Bart are initially, like, pretty bored with Night Boat, but then reminiscing about it, they go, oh, wow, nostalgia.
Aww.
Night Boat.
That episode's before we weren't disillusioned and figured out that every episode ends with a canal or a fjord.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad, but remember when we thought it was good? Aww.
Yeah.
2. And I love this bit as well, where Homer, like, you can hear the counter ticking along, and then it's just a shot on Marge, and you hear it rapidly speeding up. Like, amazing sound effect joke right there. Mm-hmm. But what were some other wacky moments that stood out to you?
I mean, my other favorite nod to this being an episode was, Bart and Lisa get up and say, hey, where are you going? Oh, Dad, you can't expect someone to sit still for 30 minutes. I'm going to the bathroom, maybe going to get a snack. And Marge is just like, I'm going to stay here, but I might think about products I might like to buy. Ooh. Oh, I don't have that.
Oh, I'd love it if they, just had Marge doing that commentary over the actual ad breaks.
That would be impressive and really increase my likelihood to buy them.
Actually, Sean, just out of curiosity, speaking of multicam sitcoms before, have you watched The Big Show yet?
I have not. Look, that's my rainy day show. It's going to be when I am really sick and there's nothing else to watch, and I'm going to be like, okay, let's watch this train wreck. Because I feel like it's going to be a nod back to really cheesy, wholesome family time shows.
Yeah, like to me, it's, I don't know if you know about this one, Peter. Yeah, it is a like laugh track sitcom with featuring The Big Show, who was a professional wrestler.
Oh.
And you know what? He's like, because I've watched the first episodes. He's not a horrible actor, but he's also not good.
He's likable, right?
The kids are acting circles around him. And it's like, telling the story of he's retired now and how he has to be a dad, but also being, a 7-foot giant.
Which is also weird because I'm pretty sure one of the first things he did was he was in The Waterboy, wasn't he? With Adam Sandler.
Yeah, that's right. He does have an acting career behind him.
Yes.
Yeah. As well
he
as
has
being a professional
career.
wrestler.
Have we ever considered having a laugh track for this show?
Yeah, that's basically me.
That's just you, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a chuckly guy.
Oh, I'm just saying.
All right, Shut Up has a boo track. We'll just have a boo track. That'll be great. It's more in keeping. For all the puns. All the puns.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely got this sitcom's not good enough for prime time, so we're going to stick it on at 3 p.m., on weekdays.
Yeah. Some of those stick around forever, though.
Yeah. Like Rules of Engagement, I feel like I always stumbled into that one.
No idea.
David Spade and Patrick Warburton.
And does that have an absurdly large number of seasons?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more than it should.
Yep.
Like I found out Grey's Anatomy is still on somehow.
Oh, that's a great sitcom.
It's not. But that's not the point. Point is it's still on. It's like, wait, really?
Sean, were there any other wacky moments that stood out to you?
I mean, I guess in talking about the head exploding is I love how they use the unreliable narrator to then set up the joke that comes after that, which is get your bowling, chucking, shooting the shotgun in the air and make him tell the story correctly. No, that's actually what happened, which, is a good joke. It's a good punchline and it's still in keeping with Homer. So you're ticking all my boxes.
Yeah, that's technically your comedy threes. You got your setup where Homer tells the terrorists taking over the nuclear plant, unreliable narrator. Then you got Bart as the reminder when he makes Homer's head explode, unreliable narrator. And then you have this payoff where it's not being an unreliable narrator. That's what really happened.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a perfect blending of wacky and groundedness.
Oh, absolutely. And Homer's head exploding. I still remember being a kid and them using that shot of Homer's head exploding for the new season 6 promos. And I was like, what the fuck happens in that episode? Does Homer die?
No, Homer need head.
Why would his head inflate while he's in bed? I'm scared of bed now.
Scared? What? It made head explode? No.
Go to bed, lose your head.
Well, it rhymes. It must be true.
I thought you said go to bread.
That explains why you don't eat bread. Another bit of wackiness is Mr. Burns gets paralyzed with rage and island rhythms.
He's getting a good sound out of him.
Just that whole I quit rant as well. Because I quit, I can do anything that I want. Such a nice desk. Be ashamed if someone didn't use a coaster.
I love it as well because, everybody's got their idea in their head about how they'd quit in blazing glory.
Such a nice, tidy office. Maybe it's time you started living like a pig. Just one piece of paper falls out of the trash can.
And the literal burning of a bridge as he exits the nuclear power plant.
Just in case you didn't get it.
Yeah. Like, the geography of The Simpsons and Springfield is, iffy at best. But for this joke, apparently the nuclear power plant has a moat.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of geography problems, I have a Jordan's anal corner.
Jordan? Oh, wait, no. We
don't yell at anyone. That's why we say it.
Nope.
A little bit closer to smooth NPR. So the bit where Homer carries Marge up to their bedroom, he actually comes in through the ensuite door, which is now a hallway. But in the very next scene, it's back to being an ensuite. I mean, come on.
Unreliable narrator.
I mean, that's kind of the leeway I'll give it is, that's the memory of it.
Yeah.
It's not always exactly accurate.
But just while we're on continuity errors, I think, it's pretty well documented that first of all, Marge telling Homer that she's pregnant with Bart, there's a framed photo of Lisa up the stairs.
Yep.
And again, when she tells him about Lisa. And then just before they're about to leave to go deliver Maggie, there is a giant framed picture of Maggie in the background in the Simpsons house.
If you're wondering how the Simpsons ever run into money later in the seasons, is that they use their magic power of premonition for good and for profit.
Makes sense.
Yeah, they pushed Biff out of the way and got the almanac. So how about the heart of this episode? Did you guys feel the bumps?
Oh, come on. It's got all of the bumps.
Just at least 2 singular bumps. At least. It is the first time in this 2 hours of recording that I got literal goosebumps in that final moment. I did look away for a second, and then when I looked back up, the quintessential image of Do It For Her was on, and I got a tear, and I got the goosebumps, and that's what, a much more emotional charged and less jokes heavy episode is bound to do.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing, because unfortunately Maggie doesn't ever really have a lot to do in The Simpsons, and even she doesn't have a lot to do in this episode, to be quite honest. But
well, she didn't exist yet.
True. But building this emotion and love around her, I think, was a really important step because Homer, unfortunately, does seem like he forgets like he has another daughter at times, even within this episode when he almost sits on her. Yikes.
Yep. But it's a bit I really like right at the end after Marge gives birth and Homer's just standing there all like, it's wonderful, it's magical, oh boy, here it comes, another mouth. And he's kind of only ever been focusing on the idea of a baby being a financial burden and not really thought of the baby being a person. And so that moment where he does meet Maggie and it's love at first sight and all that kind of stuff, it's really sweet because he's only been thinking about the numbers side of things, not the emotional side of things. And I think that's a great moment that really, Homer's been on a hell of a journey. He got his dream job. He was actually happy at work. I do like he starts off, he's like, another perfect day in my perfect life with my perfect job. And then everyone's all like, congratulations, a little bundle of joy. That's right. The bundle is little, but I'm not in it for the money.
Oh, the progression of Homer just being so oblivious to everybody telling him about.
Yeah, way to go. Way to get Marge pregnant. This is getting a little obscure, but thank you. I do enjoy working in the bowling alley.
What was I think the word was abstract.
Abstract. And also, it's such a perfect way that the show kind of addresses what makes the stakes so high in a lot of those in that classic era, which is the Simpsons aren't well off. They don't have the money to just go off to Brazil or Australia or buy, horses or all of these things. Like, it's all about the fact that they are, a struggling family and the stakes are high because it's really close to home problems and issues like how are we going to be out of budget to have this new baby in our lives, or is that the job we can really afford to have at the moment, or all these things that kind of just fall by the wayside. And because when you get to the newer episodes, all kind of bets are off. They can just do whatever, and then you have to kind of fabricate these stakes on top of that.
Yeah, they sacrifice the fancy quilted toilet paper.
Oh, and especially in these times, we know the importance of fancy quilted toilet paper.
It's worth its weight in blood.
I cannot even remember what fancy toilet paper feels like against my cheeks.
And that's been toilet paper talk for this episode.
TP index.
But ultimately, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Yes.
Hold on, let me finish the question. No. Are the characters behaving like themselves?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course they are. Like, it's just so good, Elliot and BT. It's so good to see characters that you remember how they're meant to perform, act the way they're meant to perform. Homer is not a complete outright idiot. Marge has a reasonable amount of skepticism involved in things that are going on, but she also has this love for family and growing and kind of sharing the love. Bart and Lisa are being 10 and 8 years old, and their attention span cannot last for longer than 20 minutes at a time. Why would it? Like, God.
Well, except in the flashbacks where Bart is Lisa's age, and Lisa was the age Bart was several years ago.
Yeah, but even things like, nothing about genetics, Lisa. It goes boy, girl, boy, girl. And it's the follow-up of, you're right about telling Dad, aren't you, Mom? But why do you say that? Well, you've been in my room for like 4 hours. Hey, I'm just hanging.
Wonder what the conversation was leading up to that moment 4 hours later. But yeah, I mean, the characters are behaving like themselves. Like, it's interesting in these flashback episodes, where Homer and Marge got together. We got to see them at the end of the 70s, or when Bart was a toddler and Lisa was getting born, we saw them in the 80s. And this, we're just seeing them 2 years earlier. Yeah. And I love Homer's ramp into leading about, what a time this was all the 2 years ago. And it's just the information superhighway allowed nerds to argue about Star Trek, and the domestication of the dog went on unabated.
Like, Homer, what?
Yeah, the integrity question's too easy, so let's move on to another one. Would you watch it again?
Absolutely.
Let's do it now for the 5th time, right? Why not?
Why not? But before we do that, we must ask, what playlist would this episode go in?
Homer's sperm.
Homer's cum. We see it again. And we even see Homer doing a visual act out of what his cum would be doing.
Ew.
There is no segue here, but we'll go from the Homer's cum playlist to Maggie as a baby playlist. And anything that involves Maggie being used in a plot satisfying way, such as Maggie and her teddy bear with Mr. Burns, that whole debacle. I forget what it's called.
Rosebud. Yeah, we reviewed that a few episodes with the podcast. We'll just tell your mother we ate it all. What's with all these podcasts having very long names, Sean?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I only do Roll to Cast, and that is it.
Rollercast Season 2, Vampire the Masquerade, Adelaide by Night.
Shush.
Shut up. The history of Hibbert's haircuts.
Oh, yeah. He's rocking like a 90s flat top in this episode. Looking very spiffy.
Yep, I have a note that says Hibbert looks goddamn sexy.
Yep, and that's the best of Fashion Corner that we can muster.
Wait.
I have also got bowling alley episodes as well. So Pin Pals is the one that I think of.
Oh, of course, yeah. And the less successful sequel,
No.
Singing in the Lane.
No.
That episode sucks.
Oh, no. Seriously? Yes.
But yeah, just for mentioning this as well, because it's always been a weird thing with Simpsons fans, like, wait, it's Barney's Bolorama, but Barney seemingly has nothing to do with it. What? And, it's probably just because they gave the Bolorama a name in season 1 and didn't think much of it. But yeah, they give a little...
continuity, endless continuity.
But no, they give context for it, that, yeah, Barney used to work at this Bolorama before he put Homer up for a job and was fired immediately. But yeah, while people might think this is a weird thing for Uncle Al to name the business after his nephew, this actually happened in my life. Because, yeah, my parents used to own the business Clint's Crazy Bargains, and Clint, they had partners in the business, but none of them were called Clint. Clint was the partner's son. So, yeah, there we go. It happens.
Did you have a place in New South Wales called Cunningham's Warehouse, or was that strictly an SA thing? Because
I don't.
Yep. Cunningham's Warehouse, and in his catchphrase was "Dunno, Cunno," and it was all about $2 bargains, and the commercials were atrocious.
The slogan is atrocious.
Isn't it just? It makes no sense.
It's weird because I feel like lately Cunno and Cunny have been entering the vernacular as like a cute way to, cuten up the word cunt.
Who is doing
That's where I
that?
thought you were going. Who's doing? Oh, you little Cunno.
I heard Alexi Toliopoulos say it.
I mean, if just because you make a person up doesn't make it real. You're such an unreliable narrator.
You know what? Whatever works, I guess. Cunno is just as good as anything, I guess.
Well, yeah, I know my parents definitely didn't call their business Cunno's Crazy Bargains.
Yeah. How do you use that in a sentence? Oh, yeah, come around on the weekend, mate. Tell you what, bring the little cunnos with you.
Yeah, actually,
Literally?
I think that sentence flowed.
Just call them cunts. What's wrong with you cunts?
Actually, you know what's funny with Clint's Crazy Bargains is they couldn't spell Clint in capital letters.
Yep, the kerning on that is very important.
Yeah.
So that's the Little Simpsons Index PSA. Just call people cunts.
If nothing else. All right, Sean, what would you like to change about this episode?
Absolutely nothing. I know I promised everyone that I was going to focus on the negatives, but there isn't really that much. Like, I'm sorry, the negative is that I can't think of any negatives, and in the end, isn't that the real negative?
BT?
All right, so we open establishing shot of a sunset over Venice. Then, title card, Night Boat, the series. 20 seasons, all Night Boat.
Yeah, I'm actually already got that in production, so...
Damn it! Why do I give all my good ideas away? Man, no, this one's like... You could argue it could be funnier, but the jokes that are there are so good and they kind of just carry through so well that it doesn't need to be that rapid-fire pace. Everything's just such a great quality, and I really like the humanization story in this. I really forgot just how happy Homer was and how rarely you see that, come to think of it. So, yeah, I love that struggle, and it's a working-class family struggle, and there's a big thing, especially in Western culture, that you have to make as much money as possible. It doesn't matter if you're miserable, you have to get the job that is going to give you the most. And I love the idea that someone's just saying, no, I'd rather be happy, and how much happier he is. So I really like that struggle of finding out, Maggie's coming along. He tries his best at his new job, but he has to give up, go somewhere he hates, but he does it for her. Goddamn, no, I wouldn't change a thing.
No, I agree. This, like I said it before, but in comparison to a lot of season 6 episodes, this isn't as relentlessly funny. And my note-taking hand was reasonably comfortable throughout this episode.
Yeah, more lightly smoking, but not on fire.
Yeah, but man, the weight that this episode carries and how it lands its moments so well, and it's a masterclass of writing. Sometimes watching the new seasons, I'm like, God, am I just jaded? Am I purpose built to not like this shit? But no, there are objective things we can point out and saying, this works, this doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, the first episode we watched, that hummingbird feeder joke, I loved that. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really primed for this to be a great episode, and then tank. But you started so well.
Whereas this one gets rolling with the jokes and another episode where the Simpsons start out watching TV.
I know, watching Nightboat chasing starfish poachers.
Fucking hell.
Yep.
Yeah, we're here. Sean, do you have any other notes?
I have a few, and I'm just going to focus on a few select ones. Number one is the phone book gag.
Yes.
I see it coming, but obviously at the time I wouldn't have. It's just a perfect use of your Patty and Selmy. And you know what? once again, it fits in character. Of course, that's how much of a cigarette they go through in the span of one phone call. And of course, they're going to do whatever it takes to really fuck with Homer. And it's just a good bait and switch.
Absolutely. And again, we talk about the power of music and atmosphere in The Simpsons. And this is one just having this little orchestral that really sells that passage of time that makes that Aronson and Zukowski joke land so much harder.
I've also got another use of your rule of three. When you cut to the hospital and you show a bit of a look into the life of Mayor Quimby, then a look into the life of a sea captain, and then you go back to Homer and Marge. And it's a good way to utilize your periphery characters that aren't making them a part of the plot, and a part of the narrative, which is why Otto and Skinner from the first episode earlier made no sense, because you're trying to shoehorn characters in and give them like a narrative purpose, and look, they're here and they're part of it and they're with it, and it's like, no, you didn't earn that. So to just establish the Simpsons in a new area, in a hospital, which is a place that we know, and just have a few little gags to then bring us back to the story, it's perfect writing.
Yeah, I mean, the big difference between those is, in this episode, Sea Captain and May Quimby being there, they're there to tell a joke, whereas in the first one, Skinner and Otto are there, and them being there is meant to be the entire joke.
Yeah.
It's like, get it? Because why are they here? Huh? And like, no, that's not, you're not doing anything. Whereas this, they get quick little punchline, gone.
Yeah.
And then my final note is just going to be, the Mary Tyler Moore joke, which is just, I'm going to make it after all. He throws a bowling ball in the air and it goes through the it makes a sizable dent in it, which is something that I've been worried about for years, because my cousin, that's how she throws bowling balls. She gives it a big underarm lob and it makes a hell of a noise. And I've always been worried that it would go through.
Oh, no. And you haven't suggested, maybe you should use the ramp.
Just a thought, maybe you should bowl the bowling ball.
I mean, she's seen other people bowl, so I assume she is aware of the technique. But, she throws with gusto and no one's going to tell her otherwise.
It'll be pretty amazing if she, figures out that's, the most effective way to bowl and she ends up becoming a world-class bowler person.
Or she, Happy Gilmore gives this shit.
Yeah.
Oh, if nothing else, it's intimidating for the rest of us.
How about you, BT? Any other notes?
Plenty more. Let's see. I really so we don't talk about the couch gag often, but just little James Bond, Homer shooting for some reason, he just looks so happy doing it.
Yeah.
He's got a little hand lift, a big smile. He's like, I shot you. I don't know, something adorable about that. When he starts the bowler arm, it says, okay, we'll start on Monday, bring 3 rags and a change of pants. When it happens, you'll know. It's like, what was that?
Oh, God.
I do love when Homer's like, I've learned all the mysteries of the alley, like where the pins go after they're knocked out.
Yes.
And that classic little...
That is Powerhouse by Raymond Scott.
Oh, really?
And I only know that because in the Rush song La Via Strangiato, they quote that riff, and because it's Rush, then put it in a litany of odd time signatures.
Oh, Rush.
Sorry.
Yeah, just a great little bit. I mean, I love a good conveyor belt gag every time. So, yeah, that one works for me.
Conveyor belt humor is the best humor. And I think Insane in the Mainframe, Futurama episode, that is probably my favorite conveyor belt joke, with Bender and Fry going into the robot insane asylum.
Yep, I just got the magnet completely prodding Fry's ass over and over again in my head.
I do like when Homer comes home and says, what's going on? Looks like you're showering Marge with gifts. With teeny tiny baby-sized gifts. Oh, I'll be in the tub.
Yeah, he's got a lot of company over, clearly. He's like, I'm going for a bath.
Yeah, he's like, whatever. This isn't me. Bye.
Yeah. Boy, it's windy as hell out there.
The door close over. Yeah. Such a good pointless misdirect. I like it. I like it a lot. Oh, yeah, when he's leaving, that heart moment of working here was the happiest days of my life. I'll miss you too, Joey. We'll make it to California someday.
Sure we will. What is this one-time fucking character? I love it.
It's a little bit, is it Grapes of Wrath, I think?
And you just know he's dead.
Yeah. There's no way he survived.
That's my death tally.
He's a living tragedy, you know?
Yeah.
And I do really like Homer's at the front door. He's like, okay, you can't bring this kind of burden home to Marge. You got to just stick it out and shoulder this yourself. He says, hi, honey, how are you? Well, I can't live with this charade any longer.
God damn, this episode is amazing. Let's rank it. And Sean, you have the privilege of going first on this one.
Look, it's going to be the cubic zirconia. There's a fundamental reason why, and it's something that I've found out with Futurama is, using my my foundational support for deciphering why a Futurama episode was great, which is you got to have, for Futurama, it was the sci-fi, it's the heart, it's the gags, and it's the visual references and kind of the visual aids that go along with it, because especially in the HD era, that becomes much more prevalent. Here, what I've noticed is, even though this is an episode that is a little bit lighter on the gags and is a little bit less fast-paced because of it, it really ramps up the emotion and the character arcs. And for that reason, it's so high esteemed in my eyes, and I can't fault it. And that's the thing. And I think this is quintessential viewing for someone that wants to get a very clear understanding of not only, for example, the character of Homer, but for his relationship with his family, Marge and Homer's relationship together, and their ideas on family. Like, it's just a great way of understanding how to write Simpsons really well and clearly, and with a fuck ton of payoff and heart. So it's cubic zirconia for me.
I agree. Like, I was tempted to give this gold because, yeah, it's definitely not as relentlessly hilarious as some of the episodes, but just for the weight that they put behind the emotion, the way it pays off at the end, with The Simpsons, it's fine that it doesn't really care about continuity for the most part, because it's a lot of incidental things, so that when they do go back in the past and sort of explore these times in the characters' lives, like, they are then concreting the continuity. And I think this episode literally fits in perfectly with all their past flashbacks of, seeing how Bart and Lisa was born, and, and then Maggie makes 3. And I think it's, totally rounded out that trilogy as best as you can hope for. So, QZ for me. BT, finish it off. Yeah,
I'm going to go cubic zirconia as well. Look, again, you said it's not relentlessly funny, but it doesn't need to be, because it's still laugh out loud funny. And just, the character and the story, it all just goes along so well. I have no faults here. And it's an iconic episode. It's incredibly powerfully emotional. And, really funny. So that's everything you need.
And I think it kind of might, slip under the radar for some people as well.
Yeah, it's not going to be ones that immediately spring to mind when you think about your favorite episodes, but it's just so damn well put together.
All right, well, no need to average, because this is a unanimous cubic zirconia. We are giving this episode the Simpsons Index Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence.
Aww.
Nice.
Thank you, Nick from Pods in the Kia Springfield, for coining that
subscribe.
One. And this will be the 12th episode from season 6 to get the Simpsons Index Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence. It'll be joining Call Out if you got any comments on it. Treehouse of Horror 5, this is like with the Shinning and Time Toaster and all that. Lisa on Ice, Grandpa versus Sexual Inadequacy, Homer the Great, that's a Stonecutters episode, Bart's Comet, Lisa's Wedding, which we reviewed with you, Sean.
Hey, we did too. All good company.
2001 Greyhounds, which we reviewed with your brother Phil.
Yep, the only musical he likes.
Yeah. The PTA disbands, The Springfield Connection, that's when Marge becomes a cop, Lemon of Troy, and Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 1.
Good golly.
My head is my head is shaking and my mouth is agape, because it's just, fuck, The Simpsons was good, wasn't it? God damn.
Absolutely amazing, yeah.
You know what? And the dull cubic zirconias from this season as well. A Bard of Darkness, Itchy and Scratchy Land, Homer the Clown, and Homer vs. Patty and Selma.
Fuck, The Simpsons was good, wasn't it?
Really good.
Damn.
Really good.
For the longest time, actually, season 6 was our best ranked season overall. But unfortunately, that fucking clip show.
Yeah.
And now it's the 3rd best season because of the law of averages.
Damn you, averages.
Damn you, clip show.
So what's your top season?
5.
Ah, right, of course.
So it goes 5, 7, 6, 8, 3, 4, 2, 9, 10, and then 1.
That's not
now, here's an important question. Did you know that off the top of your head, or were you reading that?
No, I'm looking at my phone right now.
Okay, good.
All right, guys. Well, look, that's been a great episode of the Simpsons Index today. Sean, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, putting up with me, and giving me a job to do on a Sunday.
Oh, more than welcome. But, why don't you tell the folks at home what else you're doing at home when you're not recording with us, when you're recording with your fellow baby bearders? What are you guys up to?
Oh, absolutely. Well, currently we are at the tail end of Shut Up and Take My Podcast, which is a bit of an irreverent Futurama retrospective, where at the time of this recording, we're a couple of episodes away from the end of Season 7, to which we will then be going into the Gauntlet, where we pit all season winners up against each other to find out what we believe to be the best Futurama episode of all time and why it isn't Jurassic Park. And also we are doing Roll to Cast, which is our tabletop role-playing game series. So season 1 was our season on Cyberpunk 2020. Season 2 was Vampire the Masquerade. And season 3, which we are recording shortly and are not allowed to announce just yet. But stay tuned because it is something that we're very excited about. We're happy and willing and raring to go.
Oh,
mysterious.
Awesome. Yeah, I absolutely love the Roll to Cast series. Like, I'm not normally a fan of podcasts that are tabletop RPGs, but yeah, the way you guys tell the stories and also incorporate the sound effects and the music. Oh my God, the music is wonderful.
That's Paul Goodman from One Good Thing that provides the music for us, and he does a hell of a job.
Oh, fucking A. And yeah, One Good Thing I think will be joining us for the next Simpsons Index podcast.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good old Pauls.
Love our Pauls. All right, and BT, what's our other podcast?
Well, our other podcast, Elliot Jay O'Neill, is Thrones of Game, the Game of Thrones podcast that watches the series backwards. So I've already seen the entire show, but Elliot had never seen a single episode until we started watching in reverse order. Gives us a really unique perspective on the show. It's so interesting to see how many plot lines got dropped and pick them up and talk about where they came from, what's going on. Yeah, great fun. Check it out. It's a little short, fast, loud podcast.
All right, and that brings us to the end of the Simpsons Index. Once again, Sean, thank you very much for joining us today.
No. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And BT?
No. Thank me.
I will. And I've been your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. Thank you very much. That's all mustard in the house.
Mustard? Marge is pregnant? No! Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can chat to us online at facebook.com/thesimpsonsindex or at Simpsons Index on Twitter and Instagram. And now please stay tuned for the bonus scenes! Well, I held that way better than I thought I was going to.
Nice little vibrato there at the end. I like that little trailer.
Yeah. Wow, might have to be my morning ritual now.
We're all the better for it.
To start your day off with a no.
Yeah. Well, gets you your next job.
Yeah, a lot of talk of Homer's cum in this episode, and
so much talk of it.
Yeah, this is sort of a
prefer to ignore it.
Looking at Homer's cum in a microscope playlist as well, because they do that in recently reviewed Brother, Can You Spare Two Dimes? Remember when Smithers and Burns are looking at Homer's sperm sample?
Yes.
Then they look at Smithers' sample.
Oh, my God, that's right. Simpsons uses a lot of sperm animation.
A lot of sperm. Actually, in that episode I was talking about before where Barney ends up being a big donor to the sperm, they've got that sign out the front of the sperm bank, which is, our sperm in your hands. I mean,
other way around.
Your sperm in our hands. Damn it.
Our sperm in your hands. No, let's do that.
It's a weird bank.